Hundreds of workers are unsure of when they could return to the Belvidere assembly plant, but on Friday, Stellantis officials update plans for the facility as Madeline Korzenewski shows us what it means for the community waiting to see production return.
We've already waited quite a long time.
In the city of Belvidere must wait even longer. Stellantis now says production will start at its idled assembly plant in 2029, at least a year later than previous estimates.
Would have been nice, but it's more importantly to get it right.
The later timeline comes with a larger commitment. The company plans to invest more than $800 million in the plant, up from the $600 million announced in October 2025.
When they had talked about their initial investment in the plant and their product line, it was going to be one shift, but with this announcement, it'll be two shifts.
Those two shifts will build the next generation Jeep Cherokee, assembled with the company's new STLA platform. A production design leader say will make it more competitive, improve efficiency, and simplify vehicle development.
I think this will be a good thing for the long-term stability and manufacturing process of this plant.
But getting to the first production vehicle will take a lot of preparation from the city.
The amount of trains that will start coming into that facility again, the amount of traffic on our roads, the amount of water that is needed, the amount of energy that is needed, all are impacts that we're trying to prepare for.
And according to Region 1 Executive Director Michael Dunn, the companies that supply the assembly line must be up and running before Stellantis.
So that means even more construction. It means even more, growth in our property tax base. It means more jobs, and those suppliers have to open in time for Stellantis' opening.
In Belvidere, I'm Madeline Korzenewski.
Now, Stellantis says it will support Belvidere employees' health care and supplemental unemployment benefits while they wait for production to return. Company leadership say wage increases were negotiated in 2023. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calls Stellantis' increased investment in the city of Murrells a major boost for state workers and manufacturing. Pritzker described the investment in a statement released Friday as another major vote of confidence in Illinois workers and could bring thousands of good-paying jobs back to Belvidere and the Rockford region.